We are going to look at the multiplicity of this equation of the zeros in it. And the way we're going to do that is by factoring it and finding the zeros, and then using the exponents to find the multiplicity. So notice that there's some even numbers, and then there's also a bunch of x's, which is great because it tells me that I might be able to do some factoring to make this easier for myself. So in terms of the 2, 4, and 2, I could pull out a 2 because of that. So I'm going to put a 2 in front, which means inside I'm going to have x to the 6th, 2x to the 4th, x squared. And then I can also pull out, looks like an x squared. So let's do that. 2x squared. So that leaves me with to the 4th, to squared, and then 1. Okay, so from here, I am going to want to do some factoring. So we're going to leave that 2x squared in the front. Now let's see if we can factor this out. So I see x to the 4th, which means it's going to be x squared and x squared. And then I see a 1 at the end. The only way I can get a 1 at the end is if I have 1 times 1 or negative 1 times negative 1. But because it's plus 2x in the middle, that tells me it's going to be positive 1. And I can double check it because if I FOIL this, in the middle I should end up with 2x squared. So now that I have this going on, I'm actually going to take a look at this section in the middle. Notice how these two are actually the same, right? So I'm going to rewrite this as x squared plus 1 squared, and we're going to get this little b value. All right, so from here, let's solve for zeros. So 2x squared equals 0, and then x squared plus 1 squared equals 0. So over here, if I divide by 2, x squared equals 0, and then you could take the square root of 0, which is 0. On the other side, we're going to take the square root on both sides. And so then we have x squared plus 1 is equal to 0. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we have x squared is equal to negative 1. Notice we are going to have to use our friend I because I have this negative 1 here. So I'm going to take the square root of this. So x is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 1. And we're going to rewrite that as plus or minus I. So the zeros that we have are, take a moment, let's write them out. We have 0, we have plus I, and we have minus I, right? So what that tells us is that we have 3 zeros, so 0, plus I, minus I. And for the 0, the value right here is a 2, the exponent's a 2, so our multiplicity is a 2, and that helps us figure that out. And then for our positive I and negative I, they are going to be each half of the total for this. So it's x squared with another 2, so that's x to the 4th, which would be a total of 4, so each of them is going to be a 2. So in order to find multiplicity, we're going to find the largest value exponent and solve for that.